You want love. Not just the surface level kind. Not the kind that looks good in photos but feels empty in silence. You want the real thing. The kind of love that sees you, softens you, holds you without breaking you. But even when love arrives, something inside you tenses, pulls back, questions everything. You don't mean to do it. But the closer someone gets, the less safe it feels. And before you even realize it, you're doing the exact things you promised yourself you'd stop doing. You're pushing them away. You're doubting their love. You're holding your breath instead of your heart. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." And Erich Fromm believed that love was an art, something we have to learn, practice, and relearn again. So what if the problem isn't love itself, but the traps we fall into when it gets too close? Today, we're uncovering 10 intimacy traps, based on the teachings of Jung and Fromm, that make love feel unsafe, even when it's exactly what you've been looking for. Let's begin. Trap number 1, the expectation of perfection. You tell yourself, if they're the right person, I'll never feel anxious. If this is real love, it'll always feel easy. And so the moment there's discomfort, a miscommunication, a moment of emotional distance, a disagreement, you question everything. But here's the truth: intimacy brings up imperfection. Real love isn't the absence of fear, it's the space to be with fear without shutting down. Jung taught that projection is the enemy of connection. We project fantasies onto people, then punish them for not living up to them. Fromm would ask, are you looking to love, or to be rescued by someone flawless? Because if you're waiting for perfect, you'll never feel safe being imperfect yourself. Trap number 2, mistaking vulnerability for weakness. You grew up learning that emotions make you fragile, that needing someone makes you dependent, that asking for comfort is too much. So now, when someone tries to get close, you shut down. You change the subject. You laugh it off. You hide behind "I'm fine." But vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the birthplace of connection, of intimacy, of healing. Fromm believed that love is an active choice, and choosing to reveal yourself is one of the bravest acts you can make. You don't have to reveal everything all at once. But intimacy can't grow in hiding. It requires you to take off the armor, slowly, gently, honestly. Even when it scares you. Especially then. Trap number 3, replaying old narratives in new relationships. You were hurt before. You loved someone who didn't love you back. You trusted someone who betrayed that trust. And now, you expect pain, even when it hasn't happened yet. You tell yourself you're just being careful. But in truth, you're reliving your past in the present. Looking for signs that it'll all fall apart again. Looking for proof that love isn't safe. Jung believed that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That means if you don't recognize your past wounds, you'll turn them into your future patterns. You're not in that old relationship anymore. But part of you is still protecting yourself like you are. And it's time to update the script. You don't have to keep rehearsing old heartbreak. You can write a new ending, starting with the person who's trying to love you now. Trap number 4, emotional withholding as a form of control. You find yourself holding back, waiting for them to reach out first, testing how long it takes for them to notice your silence. It's not a game. It's a defense. But it's still costing you closeness. Withholding affection, words or reassurance might make you feel temporarily safe, but it creates distance instead of connection. Fromm taught that love is an act of giving, not to lose power, but to share presence. You don't build trust by making someone prove themselves. You build it by showing up, even when it feels vulnerable, even when your ego wants to wait. Because withholding might protect your pride, but it also blocks your heart. Trap number 5, chasing chemistry over compatibility. You crave the spark, the instant pull, the high, the obsession. Chemistry is not always connection. Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes it's chaos disguised as passion. Sometimes it's your nervous system recognizing dysfunction, not destiny. Jung would say that what you're drawn to often mirrors what's unhealed in you. We don't just fall in love with people. We fall in love with our patterns, our projections, our unmet needs. Fromm believed that mature love begins after the infatuation fades. That's when the real work begins. That's when choice matters more than chemistry. Stop chasing the rush. Start nurturing what brings peace. That's the difference between a flame that burns and one that warms. Trap number 6, believing you have to earn love. You overgive, overthink, overperform. You try to be the most understanding, low-maintenance, emotionally available version of yourself, because you're afraid that being real will be too much. You believe that love has to be earned. That if you do everything right, they'll stay. But love isn't a reward for perfect behavior. It's not a transaction. It's not something you earn, it's something you allow. Fromm said that self-love is the foundation for loving others. That without believing in your own worth, you'll always seek external proof. You are already enough. You don't have to perform to be chosen. The right love won't ask you to keep proving yourself. It'll just see you and stay. Trap number 7, using logic to avoid emotion. You intellectualize everything. You try to solve love like it's a problem. You analyze every conversation. You focus on timelines, labels, progress. But love isn't math. It's not linear. It's messy and emotional and deeply human. Jung believed in integrating the emotional and rational selves. Not favoring one over the other, but letting them work together. When you use logic to suppress emotion, you disconnect from your partner, from yourself, from the very heartbeat of intimacy. Sometimes the most intimate thing you can say is, I don't know what I feel, but I want to figure it out with you. Emotion doesn't make you weak. It makes you reachable. Trap number 8, avoiding intimacy by staying in almost relationships. You keep getting involved with people who don't fully commit. They're emotionally unavailable. They're inconsistent. They always have a reason why now isn't the right time. But deep down, you choose them because it feels safer to almost love than to fully be loved. You stay in limbo because being half-held feels familiar, and being fully seen feels terrifying. Fromm believed that we often choose what's familiar over what's healthy. And Jung would remind you that the soul craves truth, even if it's uncomfortable. If you're always the one trying harder, waiting longer, loving more, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. And you deserve more than almost. You deserve something real. But you have to stop hiding in people who never show up fully. Trap number 9, mistaking intensity for safety. You fall hard and fast. You crave the emotional roller coaster, the drama, the I can't live without you highs. But that's not safety. That's addiction. Jung said that we often mistake the loudest feelings for the truest ones. But real intimacy isn't always loud. It's often quiet, still, gentle. Fromm taught that love grows in presence, not pressure, not obsession. If you think love should always feel like tension, ask yourself, where did I first learn that love meant anxiety? Who taught me that peace equals boredom? Because when you're addicted to intensity, you'll walk right past peace and call it not enough. Trap number 10, believing you're not capable of real intimacy. This is the deepest trap. Believe that something is fundamentally wrong with you. That you're too broken, too complicated, too emotionally wounded to ever get close to someone for real. You tell yourself you're better off alone. You convince yourself that nobody could ever understand the full depth of who you are. And so you hide. You protect. You disappear before anyone gets too close. But Jung believed that wholeness is possible. Not through perfection, but through integration. Accepting your fears. Facing your shadows. Welcoming every part of you to the table. Fromm said that love isn't something you find. It's something you become. So ask yourself, who would I be if I stopped running? Who would I be if I let someone stay? Not despite my fears, but alongside them. Because intimacy isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to let someone in anyway. Closing. So, how many of these traps feel familiar? How many times have you backed away from real love not because it was wrong, but because it felt too real? Jung and Fromm didn't believe love was easy. They believed it was courageous, messy, unpredictable, but deeply human. You don't need to be fearless to find love. You just need to be honest about your patterns, about your wounds, about what you truly want. Because when you understand what's been keeping you distant, you can finally choose closeness. Love doesn't have to be a trap. It can be a doorway to yourself, to healing, to someone who sees you and says, I'm not leaving. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real and ready and finally safe to love without fear.